Hello, this is Kenneth with the Advancing Equity Coalition, here to give you a quick recap on last night's superintendent search meeting of the Minneapolis Board of Education. So last night was the first Minneapolis school board conversation about the superintendent search since they made the decision to actually extend the superintendent search through the end of the 23-24 school year. And during the meeting, they had three main things that they wanted to talk about. The first was the timeline of the new search. The second was about the leadership profile for who they'd be looking for in a candidate. And then the third was about community engagement. So, first, what they discussed and decided on with the timeline of the search, this was really like a pre-meeting because they're going to actually have another meeting at the beginning of June about the superintendent search, and they're going to have their consultant BWP, who's their search firm, there at the meeting to have this discussion. And so, since this whole conversation was a little bit more of a preliminary conversation, the board actually decided that they wanted to hear more from BWP, their search firm, about their guidance around the timeline of the search, to decide, how they want to proceed. Do they want to put out a candidate profile and to officially start recruiting in the fall? Do they want to do so closer to December? When is the right time to actually request and receive applications? So they decided that they were going to, again, try to wait for the BWP consultants to say, yeah, here's the right time. But they also decided that they wanted to have a little bit of a long onboarding process for the new superintendent to get a chance to understand who the board is, who the district is, understand the city. And so it looks like they are hoping that somebody will start earlier than July 1, 2024. The second conversation that they had was really about the profile of the leadership of the superintendent. And so for the leadership of the superintendent and like what are the characteristics that the board is really looking for in a new superintendent, they had a couple of different examples, one from Osseo, one from Anoka Hennepin, and then one from Minneapolis Public Schools in their search back in 2016. And they were kind of discussing like, hey, what should we tell our new consultants? What are the characteristics that we're looking for? And there's a little bit of a back and forth around like, should we be doing this right now? Should we be doing this in community? Should we rely on some of the data that we received from previous community engagement? So that was a lot of the conversation that was had about the profile. It largely sounded like, look, all these examples that we're looking at are probably the same. Lots of districts from across the country are looking for the same types of things like relationship building, a focus on equity, all kinds of things. And so we really want to figure out, what are the characteristics that we really care about? How is that connected to our strategic plan? And, what separates a great candidate from a good candidate? And so that was a little bit of the conversation that they had. Again, saying that we still have more time to figure this out, but also understanding that they want to have something, it sounds like, settled on by the time they get to the conversation with the consultants at the beginning of June. Then the last conversation that they had was about community engagement. And this was really, part of the emphasis as to why they decided to extend the superintendent search process. And there's a lot of conversation, again, about what are we doing community engagement for? How do we approach community? The student representative actually asked, do we know how community wants to be involved in this process to begin with? So lots of good questions. There was a lot of discussion about hosting a town hall, or versus should we be working as a board to go out to community events and engage community around trying to identify what are the things that the community would add or change to the leadership profile that they'll be discussing and moving forward with starting in June. And so those were the three main conversations. It was a pretty short meeting again. Not a lot of decisions were made, and that was intentional. It was really about restarting that discussion and having a little bit of a preliminary meeting before they meet with their consultants in the beginning of June. So look out for the beginning of June, because that is when it sounds like we'll get a lot more information and a lot better idea around the direction for the superintendent search. Thank you for listening. Feel free to share this. Please follow, engage with us, let us know what you think, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.